I remember the first time I got recognized. It was hilarious, actually. It was a funny story. I was in a Tim Hortons, which is very Canadian.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I wanted to go inside. So I was inside. I usually just go through the drive-through at our local Tim's. But I was going inside, and there's this guy there. He's probably like 17. And I went up there and I made my order, and he was like right next to me. He just kind of gave me one of like these. And I was like, hey. He's like, and then he just kind of stared longer, and he's like, he's kind of like weirded out. He's like, hey. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, do I know you from somewhere? And I was like, I don't know. And then I pulled out the line. I was like, I'm Will's brother. He's like, I don't know who that is. And he just kind of like gave me the eye, and then like went out to his car, and then I could see him like talking.
Yeah. Welcome to Tarducks, a podcast for content creators to come share their experiences, stories, and advice. And today I have a legend. I have Deadly Slob. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate all the kind words, and I'm happy to tell some stories and share some knowledge wherever I can.
Dude, you're full of knowledge, and I'm sure you got some great stories to tell. So, so what we normally do here first is we get things going with a couple of quick questions just to get the juices flowing. Are you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. Well, the first one is actually coming from Wilbur. I reached out to him and said, hey, throw me a couple of questions I can shoot to your brother. So first one is, he said to ask you about Jeff, and I have no idea what that means.
Oh, okay. So, well, 2020 got a little crazy for a lot of us. And I would say we spent a lot of time on stream, and there's a lot of people cooped up, stuck inside, including our community. So I did these weekly EDM streams. It was it started like the October of 2020, and it was just a joke where we would just start playing like it was like copyright free music was like I had to switch to it. So I had this license of bad music. So we did this EDM thing, and it was just so bad it was good. So then I used my soundboard, and I just started like DJing with the horrible music. What ended up happening was we started stringing together this story about a character named Jeff. And every week we would just continue the story through song about his adventures. And it would be some other weird, quirky song. And it just got crazy. And then a community member made a song with me voiceovering it with the story from the stream.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it became a thing. Very 18 plus, the song and the whole story. So I don't know what the audience level here is. So
dude, it's your podcast. We can go as far and, you know.
Oh, well, I mean, the core premise of the character is he's got a superpower. And that superpower is he just can't overdose on anything.
Oh, nice.
So the aliens take him, and it just gets weird, and it goes into the music and the song, and it worked out really well. So we had this like mascot through this like weird time of 2020.
Oh my God.
Just looking forward to Friday.
Yeah.
Just seeing what the heck Jeff was doing. So it was a lot of fun, and I miss doing those streams, but it just, you know, took a lot out of me. So it was a lot of work. So we had to slow them down. So now I just do them seasonally.
Yeah. Oh,
but that's the story of Jeff. It was just kind of a weird character that we did.
Right. Awesome. All right. So the second one he wanted me to ask you, how was streaming while trying to house train Vince?
Oh, a challenge.
Yeah.
You know, the good news is like the green screen's down, so you can see it. Like I got a lot of open space here. So it was great space for the puppy. So I would just gradually give him more freedom, but the baseboard suffered. Yeah. There was some accents from here and there. But other than that, you know what? It was it was okay. Like I integrated it with the stream, so people were interested in seeing how it was going. He was very much involved with the broadcast. So but it was very difficult to take 6 to 8 breaks of broadcast just to deal with this little guy. So, but you know, now he's great. You know, he's just kind of does his own thing. But yeah, it was very challenging at the time. But
all right,
you know, it was fun.
Final question is, if you could sit down with anybody in history for an hour and chat with them, who would you pick?
Oh, um, if I could sit down with anybody in history and have a conversation with them, who would it be? Um, Let me see. I'm gonna get to it. I'm just a slow thinker.
That's all right, man.
I think somebody like this is gonna be a crazy answer. It's gonna be weird, but I think like one of those guys like Eric the Red, or one of the like the Scandinavian adventurers that
Yeah.
traveled across the Atlantic for the very first time, like not really knowing exactly where they were going to end up, only to find some territory that they didn't really understand. And I think that first process of like knowing the motivation behind that, and then just how that was even done from
Yeah.
like a sailing navigational perspective, that would be pretty cool. That's the first name that come to mind, only because I've been, super into like the show Vikings and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I'm just like, man, that's a crazy story
Yeah.
of like the Greenlanders, and
Yeah.
that
Wow.
travel. So
Yeah. Can you
yeah,
imagine like what kind of stones it took? It says, all right, let's go on the ship. And it's a Viking ship.
yeah,
You're not talking like, Christopher Columbus type. You got some room and sleeping
yeah,
quarters.
you're just going over.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going. You're just going somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's the first name to come to mind.
So speaking of Viking show, have you watched that other one that's on Netflix with it's like 5 seasons with Bull? Oh God, it's how the Vikings come to England and they take
Oh,
over.
the Last Kingdom.
Yes. Oh, I
Yeah, I'm
love that
super
one.
into The Last Kingdom. I watched The Viking.
Yeah.
I'm just getting into the new one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super into that kind of television, and
Yeah.
also that area of history from a North American perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really cover it. So I'm sure you guys that are listening in England and Scandinavia and mainland Europe, you kind of touch on the whole process of what was going on in the 10th century into the 13th century, that whole territory. But in North America, we don't really touch on that too much, at least in school. So
Right.
this like whole territory of like history that I don't really know anything about. So um, it's been a cool ride
Yeah.
anyway. So
Cool.
yeah, I've been super into that.
Awesome. So, for those that don't know, you live in probably one of the most beautiful places in the world on a beautiful
Yeah.
island. Yes, it's the North Atlantic, but still, it's a beautiful part.
Yeah, I
And
live from the PEI.
yeah,
Yeah.
and what it was like growing up, because like it's a big tourist area in the summer. Like, did you dread when summer came and the island filled up with, mainlanders
Well, I mean, some folks here from Awares is what they call them.
from Awares? Okay.
From Awares. Yeah, maybe a little bit. I was only on the island until like '98, so I was like kind of young doing my first year of school,
Yeah.
and then I went to Southern Ontario for a while. So I did my elementary school there, which is, I think, the biggest reason why I don't have like an Atlantic Canadian
Yeah.
accent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back here for like junior high, high school, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty low key. I think having the opportunity to be in the city, like Southern Ontario,
Yeah.
like very much the suburbs, and then coming back over here, which is very rural, and then it also having its own subculture of completely different language. I mean, you're from
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland,
Yeah.
so you completely understand. Like, that was pretty crazy. So, but it felt very natural and, you know, welcoming because
Yeah.
like that's all my family is from here. So
Yeah.
um I would say there's definitely like a level of appreciation for the people that come here, but I think again with COVID, things are changing here rapidly.
Yeah.
PEI is one of the fastest growing places in Canada right now because people want to leave the city.
Yeah.
And I feel like that transition is tough for some people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And especially some smaller communities where the cost of living is going up, there's not enough housing, there's a lot of problems that are associated with this
Yeah.
massive expansion of population. And I do feel like some of the locals are having some issues with that, but
Yeah.
other than that, it's bringing a lot more opportunity
Yeah.
to the island. So, and I can safely say, I mean, this summer was beautiful.
Yeah.
And what was going around the world might not have been. So we were lucky to be kind of in our own little part
Yeah.
of of the planet that wasn't so affected by the wildfires and all
Yeah.
the other stuff that was going on.
And how about like how did it feel? Like did it feel like a normal summer after the pandemic that we've been through for the last few years?
Yeah, so with PEI, we weren't stuck in isolation for as long as some of the other places.
Yeah.
So we were always like closed, then opened, then
Yeah.
closed, then opened. So we were bouncing around a lot more. Like I think the summer of 2021, most of the restrictions were gone.
Yeah.
So we already had like a big summer of everybody coming to the island. Maybe there was a couple masks here and there, but
Yeah.
we had that taste of freedom again.
Yeah.
So and then we would lose it and get it back.
Yeah.
So this summer it was nice, but I don't think it was as bad as some of the other places that were completely in quarantine for well over a year
Oh
and a
yeah.
half. So for us it was I think a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Mr. Gibbon just this week and I had no idea. He's in Ireland. They had a 2 kilometer restriction as far as they could go. They couldn't go past that.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
I know. Can
I
you
mean, we
imagine?
couldn't get off the island
Right.
without a reason.
Yeah.
Actually, we did sneak a bachelor party over there somehow in the summertime when they let us. I
Yeah.
mean, we had a van full of guys and we went over to New Brunswick for a bit, and it was like that 1 week window where they just for some reason
Yeah.
it worked out. So, but yeah,
Awesome.
no, it wasn't so bad. I would say out of all the places to be during COVID. I mean, PEI was definitely one of the better places, I would say. I think
Yeah.
small businesses, especially seasonal businesses, you get one of those guys on here, they're going to completely disagree with me, and I
Yeah.
completely understand. But from like a social perspective, I mean, we're already quite isolated
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. When the snow falls,
Mm-hmm.
things shut down.
Yeah.
So
So was it a good summer to take use of that new lawnmower you got?
yeah, it's one of those things where I take big inspiration from Hank Hill. He's one
Yeah.
of my spirit animals. So I definitely play up my love for my lawn for the stream a
Yeah.
bit. However, I do like my new lawn tractor.
Excellent.
It's a zero turn, it just gets it done.
Excellent.
Where the old one it was a waste of my time. So I got more time basically.
Oh,
So
that's the important thing, especially as a content creator, man. You guys can't, you cannot have enough time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So let's jump into it. So where did video game? Actually, no. Before you hit the go live button, what did you do? What was your background?
Oh yeah. So I've always been doing like YouTube videos and stuff. So I was making World of Warcraft videos since 2006. So I've always kind of been messing around with it. So I've always had some little experience with doing something. But when I started to grow the channel, well, it's a long story, but I wanted to find a way to monetize my YouTube videos because like I was putting a lot of work into it,
Yeah.
and a lot of other gamers wanted to do that as well. And back then, you needed to do YouTube networks like Machinima or the Game Station or our company called TGN. So
Yeah.
me and a bunch of other video gamers, we got together and we created a YouTube network, and we were able to partner our own channels to put advertisements.
Yeah.
That was just a fun little project where we just wanted to put advertisements on World of Warcraft videos, and we wanted to all play World of Warcraft and stuff. But as the company grew, it became an actual business. So I put my YouTubing aside and started working on the business side,
Yeah.
and became the head of sales for the entire company.
Yeah.
So I did that for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did that for 2 different companies in the scene for a total of 5 years. And then after that, I was streaming on the side. Like I
Yeah.
started just doing it for fun. So the moment that I didn't want to do that anymore, I was streaming.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I've been basically in this. I've been doing stuff like this since I was like 14.
Wow. And now,
So
trying to be a salesman for basically a streaming platform in the early years, it probably wasn't an easy sell. Or was it?
it was in a way yes and no. There's a lot of mistakes that were made by the industry and myself and a
Yeah.
lot of other people. But we learned along the way because like at the end of the day, if you wanted to put advertisements on your videos, you had to join a network. YouTube was very scared that they'd get copyright claimed by video game developers.
Yeah.
And some still do this today. Like Rockstar is really bad at that.
Yeah.
And Microsoft as well. So it was really easy, actually, because
Yeah.
our competition was Machinima, and they were extremely controversial with what they were doing at the time. So
Yeah.
we would just be like, hey, come on over. If you can't join Machinima, come join us. And then we just blew up.
Wow.
So at first, very easy. But then
Yeah.
as the industry grew and money came in, it became more difficult, convoluted,
Yeah.
and greedy.
Yeah.
And that greed is ultimately why I left
Oh,
that whole
okay.
scene.
All right. So now,
Yeah.
speaking of video games, where did it all start for you? What was your first memories of, did your dad come home with a console?
Oh, yeah.
Or...
So my first memory, and this is gonna, my first memory was Atari 2600.
Yeah.
My dad owned one, and E.T. He had the worst video game of all time. I swear.
Yeah.
It was the E.T. and Space Invaders, I
Uh-huh.
think. So yeah, Space Invaders on the Atari 2600 was my first ever experience with video games.
Yeah.
And then I remember, but I wasn't like super into it. So, and also we weren't allowed to play it all the time. So
Yeah.
I remember later, I went to a friend's house and they had Ocarina of Time on the N64, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because before then, all I really knew was Atari 2600.
And
Like we
E.T..
didn't really have and ET. We didn't have a NES at the
Yeah.
time or anything like that. So it was literally that to N64. So that was like, I would say Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was
Yeah.
the game that really made me super interested in video games.
Yeah. Okay. And now, over the years, what have been some of the highlights from a video game standpoint that just stick out for you as some of your all-time favorites?
Halo,
Yeah.
Combat Evolved for sure. Halo 2. Halo 2, Halo 3, that whole era, super involved.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very much like into the competitive scene for that as well. Really into game battles. I wanted to participate in like local tournaments, but I just couldn't at the time. I was a bit too young.
Yeah.
And so that was huge. Halo was massive. Diablo, RuneScape,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, and of course like Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So
Yeah.
I would say between those games, that's kind of what really stand out. But there's actually one more, Age of Empires 2. I can't forget, because
Yeah.
Age of Empires 2 is the reason why I wanted to get my own computer.
Oh, okay.
So
Was it a tough sell to the parents, or were you old enough that...
super hard, super
Oh.
tough sell. The whole point, I had to save up like over 50% of the cost of the computer, and I think I was 11.
Yeah.
So which is like, saying it out loud, that's young. Like, they were very trusting and patient.
Yeah.
And also I think they knew that I had an interest in it, but if I wanted it, I had to work for it. So raking leaves, cutting
Yeah.
grass, all that kind of stuff. So me and my brother and my friends would just do that on the weekends. Living in the suburbs, you could literally just walk around and be like, hey, do you want us to cut your grass?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, yeah. And so that's kind of how I did that.
Now, did the other brothers help, contribute to this, or was this just going to be your computer?
No, not for that. Not for that one. That was just for me. So
Yeah.
it was a Dell Inspiron. It was like $300. So yeah, it was like pretty bad, pretty bare bones.
Yeah.
It was like the cheapest office computer you could buy. But hey, it could run the internet, it could run RuneScape, it could run Age of Empires, and most of the games from the 90s.
Yeah.
So good enough for me.
Excellent. Now, one thing people don't realize that, down in the States, in Canada, we're at a disadvantage. All of our computer games, video games, are at least $10 more than the price down here. Like, a game, it's even tougher to build a library.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the prices haven't really changed very much. I think like, I actually didn't buy too many games. I would rent them from Jumbo Video, which is for, yeah. So for Americans, it's basically Blockbuster, but
Yeah.
cooler in my opinion. It was cooler.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a local Jumbo, so I would just go down there and rent a game on the Friday. I was always dealing in like $5 bills.
Yeah.
Because like again, I was raking leaves and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, that I would always have enough money to rent a game for the weekend, and that
Yeah.
was always like enough for me.
Okay, very cool. And then you know, World of Warcraft, DayZ was on that path. You were, you know, really, it sounded like, you know, from past conversation, DayZ was one that really hooked you into it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. World of Warcraft was how I started making YouTube videos, but then DayZ is really when I started to focus to get better or at least be more consistent.
Yeah.
So, and then also that opened up a whole world of PC gaming that I didn't really know too much about, which is modding and
Yeah.
Arma modding specifically, which is massive,
Yeah.
or at least it was. So, and that just opened the door for content creation
Yeah.
everywhere.
And then these days you're playing some Tarkov, some F1 Manager. And I even saw you playing the Fishing North Atlantic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And at first, I got to ask you a question because when I saw you playing it, I heard Great Big Sea. Were they on the soundtrack, or did you just have that piped
No,
in?
I started playing it. I always try to. Now, I definitely shouldn't, but whenever I'm playing secondary games, I always try
Yeah.
to find tracks and music that correlate with whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
So I had to throw in some maritime music while we're playing that. But yeah, no, I've been on the lobster boats, mainly on setting and landing day. So I know a
Yeah.
little bit about the whole process of doing that. So it was actually a lot of fun to see the video game interpretation of it,
Yeah.
which wasn't actually that bad.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah.
Okay. Now, when is lobster season up there?
So there's two seasons. You have spring and fall. So fall is I think just about to come to a close.
Yeah.
Usually from the 1st of May until the 1st of July is the season that I'm typically familiar with.
Yeah.
And so it's like 2 months and then that's it. There's a lot going on with that right now. I don't know much about it,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's like something going on with the lobster being red listed or something
Oh,
like
okay.
that. But yeah, I don't know. I wish I could talk about that more, but I really just don't know much about it.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
now,
yeah.
did you spend any time doing, like, you know, out on the boats doing the
No,
whole?
so the first 2 days of the season and the last 2 days of the season.
Yeah.
So because like I'm just do the stream, so I'm
Right.
not like really at that experience, but I just like helping out and it's a lot of work. So yeah, I've been doing that now for 13
Oh,
years, I
wow.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
So who knows? Maybe in the future. We'll see where the
Yeah.
future is. So
So now, to F1 Manager, I know you have a love for F1. You
yep. And I
started
know you
playing
do
that game.
too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, first of all, I got to ask, what happened to Schumacher? I see you got him off the team.
Uh, you know, they I think the game has done them pretty poorly.
Yeah.
I think from a video game perspective, the way they do the racing the drivers is there's growth potential and aggression level.
Yeah.
And they have Mick's aggression level down to the lowest and they have his growth level as average. Where all
Okay.
the other drivers that are similar in rank
Yeah.
are aggressive and have high growth potential. So, and he's not rated very well. So, I chose Haas because I thought it'd be not only funny and fun,
Yeah.
but it's also be more interesting to see how you could climb from the bottom.
Right. Absolutely.
And halfway through the season, I realized we couldn't get Mick out of Q1.
Yeah.
So I just scouted this other driver, and literally his first time he won. He
Oh my
won
God.
Spa, literally on the first race. His
Oh,
name is
gee.
Jack Doohan. He's an Australian
Yeah.
driver. We call him Doohan because I'm an idiot on the stream. But Jack Doohan, he will be in Formula One probably in a couple years.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, okay.
incredible. So. Well, unfortunately, we replaced Mick,
That's all
but
right.
I gotta blame the game because
Yep.
like I think he is poor, like very underrated, and that car sucks.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
what are you gonna do?
Yep. So, how are you enjoying the F1 season so far? The real one with, you know, Verstappen, you know, and the magic they found in that Red Bull.
Yeah, man. I've been a Red Bull fan for a while, so I'm really excited to see that there's going to be very little to no dispute with this championship this year because despite the controversy of last year,
Oh
and I
my God.
totally understand it, Max deserved to win the championship, but he didn't deserve to win that race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that's a tough one because technically Lewis would have won the championship.
Absolutely.
Then. So,
Yeah.
this time I think it's really important to see that no, he's got potential to be one of the greatest drivers of all time. I mean, he's a young guy.
Yeah.
He's going to have 2 world champions under his belt. You know, he's got a lot of time. He's got a lot of time to win 6 more championships. So it's been good. I think some of the races have been, you know, some of them have been boring, but I mean, I think that's Formula One for you.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
but for the most part, I'm super invested, and I'm so glad that I am because I feel like I need something more than Tarkov to focus my attention on
Absolutely.
as a hobby. So
Yeah, and also don't forget we got the spectacle of Ferrari this season too. You never know what they're going to do.
oh yeah, yeah. I love just watching all the mistakes that get made. I'm an armchair guy, so obviously if I was in that position, I'd probably make just as the same amount or way more, but it's so much fun to just be like, what the heck is even going on? So it's to
Absolutely.
the point where if we make crazy calls in Formula One Manager, they just call me Mattia. So
Nice.
yeah, it's pretty wild.
So now, are you going to get up to Montreal to catch a race one year?
So we're looking at next year.
Yeah.
I'm on this list of trying to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I think next year is pretty like I will most likely be there next year.
Excellent.
I think.
Yeah.
It's not that far away. It's like a 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
So it sounds long, but it's not that bad if you've done it before.
Yeah, and I've been up to Montreal a couple of times, and the city's wonderful. Like that Friday night, there's one street that all the Ferraris, like real people who own the nice high end cars, are parked up on the street, and you can walk that, and the food and the concerts go on. It's a fantastic experience.
Have you gone before?
Yes, I've been to two or three times up there back in the Schumacher days, the real
Nice.
Schumacher's dad, but not in the last few years. I've been doing more NASCAR races. My buddy from Mississippi got me hooked, and I gotta honestly tell you, when he said, "Oh, come see a race," like it's just left hand turn. I was like, "What am I?" It's just gonna be boring. But he convinced me to go to Bristol, which is this tiniest little track, and it's in the back hills of Tennessee. I thought I was going to die walking up to this track. 160,000 people. They're letting everybody bring in their coolers. And I'm like, there's no way this ends good. And it was the friendliest sporting event I've ever been to in my life. And the other thing that was really cool is you can get the headset and you can tune in to every driver and crew chief, and you hear the conversation of what's going on, whether it's, Dale Earnhardt Jr. at the times, like he's complaining about his helmet's too big or too tight, and then his crew chief's making fun of him, saying, yeah, your head's gotten too big. And it's just, it's a whole different perspective of it. And I came away, it's like, okay, I understand it now, and it's pretty cool.
I've tried watching NASCAR a few times, and I've enjoyed the process. I think I need to try to get invested in the people that are behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what worked for Formula One for me. And if I can do that, then I'll probably get involved. But I always turn it on just every now and again, just to see what's going on.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Yeah, going to a race and hearing the engines, like what's really incredible. I've been to Daytona and Charlotte, and you can walk up against the fences are coming across, and they're flying 200 miles an hour, and they're inches apart from each other, and it's just mind blowing. That they can do something like that and not kill themselves.
I like the strategy when it comes to like the drafting strategy.
Yeah.
So like it's not always necessarily to be beneficial to being first.
Yeah.
And like when is the right time to strike? And that's the stuff that I started picking up on a little bit when I started watching it a bit more.
Yeah.
So it is definitely more than just left turns for sure.
Definitely.
So I think in a few years more I dabble in, I'll probably get more invested.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
And the thing that I think helped F1 was that Netflix series. I think that really generated people to watch it.
It's got me more invested too, because I remember I think it was the 2019 season. Before 2019, I wasn't really super into it at all.
Yeah.
I know my dad used to be huge into Formula One, so it was on TV when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I remember turning it on one Sunday morning and just watching a race and being like, I think there's like a show on Netflix about this.
Yeah.
So that evening, Shelb and I, we started watching it, and we just became instantly hooked, like full all in. And I don't think I've missed a full race since.
Yeah.
Or awesome. Qualifying. Like I've PVR'd them all. So yeah, I've been all in.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. It's fun. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so let's talk some streaming. So, what made you hit that go live button to begin with? Joe, I think we talked about that just so that you can get more, wow, World of
Yeah,
Warcraft footage and things like that.
yeah, it was just like my friend at the time, Tally, who's still an acquaintance, but it's been 10 years or longer. So he's
Yeah.
doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. But he was telling us that, hey, there's this new thing called like Justin TV. It's picking up steam. You should stream World of Warcraft and then promote your YouTube channel because it's been working out for me. So that's what really got me in. It was like, oh shit, like this is a new opportunity for me to maybe meet new viewers and then try
Yeah.
to promote my videos more because conveniently around that same time, that's when I started to care more about what I was really uploading.
Yeah.
Before then, I had no idea what I was doing. And we just did a charity event maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And one of the incentives was cringe time, where I'd have to go back and watch like a video from 2008 or 9.
Yeah.
And when I say I had no idea what I was doing, I had no idea what I
Oh
was doing.
no.
Like it was rough, man. Like it was bad. But the more we progressed through the cringe time, the less cringy it got because
Yeah.
by like 2010, 2011, I was like really caring about what I was putting up. And the videos had structures and goals and
Yeah.
conversation pieces in mind and a real purpose, where before I was just kind of like messing around in World of Warcraft
Yeah.
talking about nonsense. I was basically doing a live stream, but in a 10-minute video,
Yeah.
right? So uh yeah, that's the biggest reason what got me going.
Ah.
And funny enough, it's kind of changed. Now
Yeah.
it's like the YouTube video supports the stream.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it helped, because you're a storyteller streamer that people, that people love to come and listen to. So those early videos helped you, sort of craft that skill.
Yeah, and also like listening to other people
Yeah.
and especially listening to podcasts and being inspired by other broadcasters, especially in the early day. And I
Yeah.
have a deep respect for those that paved the way, like, the late Reckful, for example.
Yeah.
Lots of hundreds of hours spent watching his arenas with friends and just seeing how he carried himself on his broadcasts, and Asman and Kriparian, Soda Poppin, and all those guys from the early days.
Yeah.
I've definitely taken like massive inspiration from them, like just chill oriented broadcasters where
Yeah.
you're there to hang out with your chat is the number one thing
Yeah.
that you do, and that takes priority almost over anything else.
Yeah.
So and that's the streams that I like to watch. So that's the how I run my stream.
Yeah. And now over the years so you started with WoW. Did you then transition to DayZ before coming into Tarkov?
Yeah, yeah. I went full time on Twitch with DayZ standalone.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my first adventure into actually doing this full time.
Yeah.
And that was pretty good. Like it got me involved with various different broadcasters and starting to collaborate and started getting my name out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Definitely, again, a big learning experience on how to carry myself on broadcast and the do's and don'ts and making mistakes and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So the important moments,
Yeah.
no one starts streaming one day and becomes Dr. Disrespect. It comes from years of just making those mistakes and
Yeah.
figuring out how to do it right. So
Definitely. And now, when you transition from WoW to DayZ to Tarkov, how did, when was it that right time? Because you've got to be wary of your chat staying with you during these periods.
yeah, so I think when it comes to like the numbers, I'm not super into like the pinpoint analytics, but
Yeah.
I'll just like throw some ballpark numbers from what I remember. I think when I was doing DayZ stuff, I was hitting around like 400 viewers a stream.
Yeah.
And then when I transitioned to Tarkov, I hit like 200 viewers a stream. So it was
Yeah.
pretty much like a 50% decline. But I was just having too much fun, and although we were getting less viewership at the time, I was seeing like way more engagement in the chat.
Yeah.
So I knew that was unique. It's not really something that happens very often.
Yeah.
And then also, I was kind of done of DayZ. Like
Yeah.
I just kind of got to the point where I was playing the game for years. At the time, it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
That has changed. It's gotten a lot better since then.
Mhm.
But at the time, it wasn't going anywhere, and I just felt like I was like running on the treadmill, and there was not a whole lot going on. So this brand new game, Tarkov, comes out of nowhere, and you know,
Yeah.
it's just kind of, I just kind of knew that it was going to be big.
Yeah.
So I just felt it.
And now, when you made that jump to go full time, was there a certain moment that just hit you as like, yeah, I can do this? Or was it just a gradual increase of the numbers? And it's like, okay, I'll give this a shot.
It was purely out of circumstance.
Yeah.
I was working still in YouTube MCNs, and I was given an ultimatum that I just wasn't going to accept.
Yeah.
And I was doing a stream at the time, and I just decided that I had this stream with like 80 people. Let's just see how it goes. I was saving money in the bank I kind of knew that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just, put money in the bank and then just started streaming. And I was like, hey, I'm going to do this for a year. I think I can do it for a year without going completely broke. And just, if it's going well, then I'll do it for another year.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where it goes. And eventually it got to the point where I could, make enough money to pay the bills. But it was very close. It was very close where I was like, I pretty much ran out of money.
Oh, wow.
I remember. Yeah. It was like very much at the end of my bank accounts.
So were we talking about a potential point where Deadly may have not gotten to where you are today? Did you come that close to saying,
No, I wasn't going to quit.
Oh,
I wasn't
okay.
going to quit. I was just going to do something else on top of streaming. So
Okay.
I think what really helped me out is I always did it for fun and as a hobby.
Yeah.
So I would always stream regardless of what I was really doing. But if I had a full-time job, I think now that I'm approaching like 30,
Yeah.
the amount of streaming hours I would commit would diminish.
Yeah.
So there is definitely a possibility that I would not have committed as much time, but I still would have streamed.
Yeah. And now back then, were you doing, was it just in TV then, or were you full on Twitch when you came to DayZ?
Oh, that was Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Twitch. I want to say it was like 2011 or 2012 when Twitch became a thing. So yeah, I was on board. Twitch. We had no choice.
Yeah.
They moved all the gamers over to Twitch.tv.
Okay.
So.
And now back then, the partner status, was it harder to get partner back then compared to what it is today?
Oh yeah, it was like it was crazy difficult. Yeah. You needed like 300 concurrent viewers, and you also needed to stream like a minimum number of hours.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there was only a certain number of partners per category. So let's say that so there was like Twitch would only accept a certain number of people, and this became a problem with DayZ standalone. So like people would hit the requirements, but then Twitch would be like, "There's too many partners." So
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty tough, and then also there wasn't a sub button.
Yeah.
So it was just all that partnering meant was you could run ads, you could run commercials.
Oh shoot.
So yeah, so it was a very different time back then.
And then now, and the tools you had, it was kind of, I heard people described as like the wild, wild west, essentially, with chat and things like that.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I've used XSplit before, but then I made the switch to OBS pretty early on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so bad.
And now, do you remember your partner, when you made partner, what was your partner story?
My partner's story was weird. But if you want it, the full story, dude, I feel like my whole like streaming thing is just unconventional. How I got partnership was we made a deal with Twitch to bring over partners from YouTube onto Twitch. So, and the deal was if they joined with like our network and they created channels on Twitch, then it would automatically get partnership if they were at a certain size.
Yeah.
So, being in that program, I had a YouTube channel that met the requirements for World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I was just given the partnership straight away in the early days.
Yeah.
And then later on, when I returned to streaming, I was like, hey, can I get the sub button? Because I'm like a legacy partner or whatever. And they're like, hey, stream for like 2 months and we'll give you the button.
Oh, shoot.
So I basically came back, streamed 2 months. They gave me the button.
Oh, shoot. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
What was the toughest things about streaming back then compared to today? Or is it, the same things?
I feel like the most difficult thing was the bandwidth.
Yeah.
I know for me personally, being from PEI, that was extremely difficult. Like I only had a connection that was good enough for like maybe 360p.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty challenging. And then also dual PC setups weren't really a thing,
Yeah.
and internal capture cards weren't really a thing.
Yeah.
So you either had to do like some external connection, or you would just have game loss performance,
Yeah.
and you would just be streaming with 30 frames per second on your game.
Right. Okay. And then, today from a streaming standpoint, what are some of the difficult things you struggle with, in today's world of streaming?
I would say complacency,
Yeah.
because like I'm very comfortable with where I am, and if you go and take a stream from 18 months ago
Yeah.
and plugged it into tomorrow, probably not going to be a whole lot different with the way the stream looks, the attitude.
Yeah.
And so I feel like in some ways it's a good thing.
I was just going to say
But
that.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I think like that familiarity and that consistency is good. But then also like, it's good to grow and do
Yeah.
new things and introduce new intros and
Yeah.
overlays and that kind of stuff. And I think that's the kind of thing where I kind of like I wake up, come into the office, hit the live button and
Yeah.
go. And I've been kind of just doing that for a while.
Yeah.
So I would say for me personally, that's the biggest challenge is recognizing like, oh, okay, like maybe it's time to do something new.
Yeah.
Because I'm so comfortable with doing what I do.
Yeah, because I think I don't know, it was a few months ago. I saw a tweet you did about looking to strategize or collaborate with some, just to bounce some ideas off about moving forward, and just that's why I was thinking about that question.
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to do something new every now
Yeah.
and again, but I would say not as quick as my peers.
Yeah,
For
but
sure. I'm
you do
definitely low and slow.
that. Nothing wrong with that, and you have that. You're in that space now where you don't have to main a game at this point. You because we've seen you bounce around to other games, bring in other games, and you just pick up and go with the flow, and then people come and that's watch you, and that's what they like to do. They enjoy
Yeah,
that.
I think my summer car was really my summer car was huge because that was the first time that I branched out into variety for a long time.
Yeah,
Usually I would pick away at a game for a couple days or like after a Tarkov session. I just straight up didn't play Tarkov for 2.5 months.
yeah,
And it was fine. It was good. It was
yeah,
like one of those times where I'm like, yeah, I can we like we can move around, we as a community, and move around to different categories. And
yeah,
as long as I'm having fun and the chat is having fun, that's all that really matters.
yeah,
And finding games that allow that is very difficult.
yeah.
Like, not the way I see it is like not every good game is a good streaming game,
Right.
especially for me in my particular style. Like somebody could just go and play World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King and probably be okay, or the new world content patch that was uploaded recently.
Right.
But I don't think I can because I've tried that before and
Yeah.
it just doesn't work with my
Yeah.
style.
So now, would you call yourself now a variety streamer? I had Veritas on a while ago, and he's come to he's come to the moment that he feels comfortable calling himself the variety streamer.
I'm a 2-game Andy is what I'll call myself.
Okay.
Like I will go hard at like maybe 1 or 2 games and
Yeah.
hyper fixate on that. So I would say no, I'm not. I feel like I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
I do variety games, but for the last 2 or 3 months, I've been pretty much exclusively playing Escape for Tarkov
Yeah.
all summer long, day in and day out. So, yeah, not quite, but
Yeah.
I would like to be, but I don't want to change games every day.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that if I'm going to pick up a new project, it's going to be for weeks
Yeah.
or if not months. And
Gotcha.
that's yeah, so something to work towards,
Yeah.
something to just be in for a while.
Yeah. And now, over the years, you've probably got a ton of highlights that you can just pick from. What are some of the highlights since you went live really stick out for you?
The Christmas streams for sure.
Yeah.
Those are always something.
Yeah.
Definitely. PG-14 or mature rated
Yeah.
streams. Those are always good. I would say the first time we did drops was a roller coaster.
Yeah.
That was a crazy stream. I had like 110,000 people after a raid from Pestily, and that was like while I was moving into this new office.
Oh,
So
shoot.
I had no idea that drops was even happening.
Yeah.
I didn't have internet for like 3 or 4 days.
Oh my
So
God.
and I was kind of just so busy I wasn't checking social media.
Yeah.
So I literally put my computer in this office and turn everything on, and it's like, holy crap, Pesley's got 100,000 people. What is going on here? People are like, it's drops. Everyone's got drops. You got to be live. Why isn't Deli live? And all that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I missed something massive. But I was able to get live on the last day of the drops,
Yeah.
and that was a crazy stream. And then like every single drop stream pretty much since then has
Yeah.
been pretty wild. But I do think that was a big turning point for not just myself, but I think the Tarkov community
Oh
in
yeah.
general. That January 2019
Yep.
drops, it really solidified Tarkov as like a mainstream game.
It was a brilliant
And
move. Yep.
yeah, it was freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was wild.
Oh man. So now looking
I'm trying to
back,
think of some other ones, but I feel like yeah, I think those are the biggest ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to top that one. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say what I asked a lot of people who've come on, what were some of your biggest raids? But you grew up being the big names. Were there ever big raids that like like holy crap?
Yeah, yeah. There was some big ones. There was a day where it was a very pivotal day back when I started my stream again in 2014. Came
Yeah.
back and just was trying to get my sub button. I got raided by Joshua, so he used to be called iWins,
Yeah.
and I also got raided by Mr. Chow, and that was on the same day. So I went from like 30 viewers in the DayZ standalone category up to like 250. So that was like a huge day.
Yeah.
And then there was the biggest raid I ever received pre-drops it was complete random chance, and I have to say this changed the game. It was a guy from the Hearthstone category, which was super random,
Yeah.
and I forget his name. Anyway, he was big, but I ended up kind of having some weird sussy stuff that happened to him. But he would just go through Twitch and pick a random channel and raid them that day, and it happened to be me. So I went from like 100 viewers to 20,000 viewers.
Oh my God.
And I was like, whoa. So, but I retained it pretty well,
Yeah.
and I handled myself pretty well. And then before too long, I started, I picked up like a good 100 viewers from that raid that stuck with it, which was crazy.
And now, how do you deal with going from X to triple X? Like,
Oh yeah. I just don't think about it, I guess, which is very hard to do. I think initially it was kind of overwhelming, especially whenever you got like 100 people in your chat. I think that was kind of like a first like holy shit moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely put on the blinders. I never know how many people are watching.
Yeah.
And then the moderators did an incredible job at all moments of setting up a slow mode that mirrored our regular speed of the chat in some way.
Yeah.
So even if it was going crazy, it was like enough where I could read it and go through it.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So
cool.
It's weird though. It is weird. I think that's just the best. It's just a complete dissociation of just not paying, just acting like I have 100 people.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, at the end of those streams, I remember after the 100,000 people, I was kind of like, I couldn't sleep that night.
Yeah.
I remember like kind of being like, whoa, man, like that was insane.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So now, because you chose this career, being a content creator, how do you deal with vacations? Because, like the normal 9 to 5 jobs, you guys don't have vacations. You don't have sick days, health insurance if you're in States. Like from a vacation standpoint, you need those breaks.
Yeah, and this industry is not very rewarding of that at all. If anything, it's very anti-break, and it has been like that for a long time and remains like that.
Yeah.
I think for the first few years, I streamed 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, and in a way, I think that really plays into where I am today. Like if I didn't do that, if I didn't put that time in, I don't think I would be here today.
Yeah.
Which is an incredibly unhealthy environment, but I guess it's part of the process. At least it was for me. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of stories in various different industries, especially in the entertainment one, where you have to put in these insane, grueling hours and grinds
Yeah.
to get to where you want to be. And I think with streaming, it's kind of like that. So for me personally, now I take Saturdays and Sundays off,
Yeah.
and that's good enough for me. But when it comes to longer breaks, I still don't really like taking big breaks
Yeah.
because it's a two-step backwards or a one
Right.
step forward, two-step backwards situation. And sometimes it can be worse. But
Yeah.
I will say, um, the I think the longer I've streamed, the more I've realized that I can take those breaks.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to put yourself in the mindset of allowing yourself to.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're always in the back of your head. I'm missing. Am I losing my viewers for not being on there?
Yeah, I think I see it as like I think we have like 3,000 something subs right now, and it's like I have 3,000 bosses. I have like 3,000 people that are paying me monthly to
Yeah.
provide a level of entertainment at least Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
So anytime that I take a day off, I feel really guilty because it's like these are people with their hard-earned money like supporting my stream, and
Right.
I feel obligated to want to be there and entertain
Yeah.
them. So which is, I don't know. It's a weird way of looking at it, but I really appreciate the support that I've
Yeah.
received because I don't really know when this crazy train is going to end. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's difficult. I don't know what advice I would give to somebody
Yeah.
who's small in that respect.
Yeah. Because it's, like you said, as a start, smaller streamer, you're just grinding and grinding. Like I had Mr. Gibbons on, and we were talking about he's riding this wave right now, and he's going to TwitchCon. He was planning on doing 3 weeks, but he can't do that now because he wants to just do 1 week and get back, because he doesn't think he can, afford to lose that wave.
3 weeks is a lot. Like 3 weeks is a lot of time.
Yeah.
I don't really know where Gibbons is at with like the viewer count and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
but I can understand like the anxiety with that.
Right.
And part of my anxiety stems from seeing it happen
Yeah.
where people were in a position getting like 300, 400 viewers a stream. They get their subscriber button and then they go on this like big 1 month vacation.
Oh my God.
And they come back and it's like, whoa, wait, what happened? Like, where's all my viewers?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't say that would happen to everybody, but I remember one specific person where that happened to, and they just kind of never recovered from it and eventually stopped streaming.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild.
So that is not the healthiest message. There's always a balance.
Yes.
Like you can take a day here and there for yourself. You can
Yeah.
take the weekends off. You can take 3 days. If you're in the middle of your grind and things are going well, I would say if you wake up and you're not like feeling super great, I don't know, man, maybe push through a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
You have to make that call for yourself.
yeah, and nobody wants to watch somebody who is, not happy on stream.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. There's a really good video by Tim the Tap Man from like 2015 or 2016. I share it with people. I get messages from other streamers that are stuck in these ruts, or
Yeah.
they're not really motivated, or they're in a negative mind space.
Yeah.
And I always share this video with them because it really talks about positive mental attitude
Yeah.
and how it affects your stream. So if you're in a position where you're waking up every single day like dreading to turn the stream on, then yeah, you got to take a break because those 2 or 3 days off might really re-energize you
Yeah. Yeah.
and get you to the point where you can stream again.
Definitely. And now, for somebody who is going live for the first time, what advice would you give them?
I would say set like reasonable expectations. I wouldn't start a stream being like, hey, I'm going to stream. I'm going to spend like $6,000 on a setup
Yeah.
just so I can stream to like 3 viewers. I wouldn't do that. I would make sure that you have a microphone that's good enough
Yeah.
where people can listen to you without wanting to turn off your stream. I would actually say that audio is almost more important than video in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And a bad green screen is worse than no screen at all. So if you don't have a good lighting setup, which these lights are pelting me in the face as the sun goes down. But if you don't have good lighting, if you don't have a good green screen, I would say like webcam it or no webcam. There's plenty of successful streamers that don't use a webcam.
Yep.
Lyric is a really good example of that. It's not needed if you have the right vibe and you set the right setting.
Yep.
So that'd be huge. And then the last thing that I would say is schedule. It's the most important thing when it comes to a new streamer. Like set like 3 days a week and commit to those 3 days and commit to those times and tell people when you will be live. Because if people don't know when you're going to be live, they're not going to come to the platform to watch your stream.
Yep.
Like there's the follow button and stuff like that and the notifications, that it doesn't really work as well as being like, hey guys, I'll be here tomorrow at this time.
All right.
So that's what I would say.
Excellent.
And yeah, I don't know. Reasonable expectations.
All right. So now this one I've been wanting to ask you for a while. It's so let's pretend Deadly Slob is starting out for the first time next week going live. Or maybe Wilbur's coming to you and say, Deadly, I want to do this. How would you approach, being a streamer, dealing with what platform to go on? Do I focus on creating my own YouTube content or shorts or TikToks? If you had to start from scratch.
If I was to start from scratch, the YouTube is the most powerful tool to grow your channel. Without a doubt. Like with YouTube, you can make a video and it can go viral in the category, or it can get thousands of views if it's a well-made video and you have no other videos in your channel. Where on Twitch, you go live for the very first time and you have the coolest live stream and like everything's going well, you might have like one viewer. So I would think YouTube is like one of the most important ways of growing your Twitch channel. In terms of like where I would like choose to go live, I would still choose Twitch. It gives the most, especially for smaller streamers. There's no better platform for smaller streamers than Twitch. I mean, when it comes to Amazon Prime, all of the bit features, the advertisement incentives, the bounty board, how everything is integrated with multiple different ways of monetizing your stream. The other platforms are way behind with that stuff.
Yeah.
So it is so much easier to be a smaller streamer making at least minimum wage.
Yeah.
So I would still be on Twitch. And then TikTok, something that I don't do. But TikTok, simply because I'm just an old guy that's set in my ways and I make YouTube videos and stuff. But if I was a brand new person, I would definitely be uploading videos or clips to TikTok. The more places where people can see you and know when you're live, the higher probability that someone's going to drop in and see you.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah. And Twitter, of course. Twitter is one of those things where not everybody likes it, but it's kind of the universal way of connecting with other broadcasters. Yeah. We've all kind of decided that that's going to be the platform that you kind of have to participate in. So make a Twitter account and tweet when you go live and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now let's see, what else was in, sponsors. Okay. So from a sponsor standpoint, you could, for people jumping into it live, would you suggest for them to do the whole affiliate things, like with all the jerkies, the energy drinks and...
So I did that when I was really small and I didn't really know better. So with World of Warcraft, I would do like leveling guides and I would be selling like leveling guide ebooks and like all this kind of stuff. And I was an affiliate with G Fuel for a little bit. Didn't really know better. I thought it was a sponsorship. They say, it was an affiliate deal. There is a lot of exploitation that these companies do, especially for smaller to medium-sized broadcasters. But if you like their product and they get an affiliate code, you're essentially working as a salesperson for sometimes a decent commission. In some cases, it could be like 15%. So I would say, yeah, it's definitely worth it if you're a full-time streamer that needs to expand the monetization. I would be careful with it though, because you got to know your worth. But then also they will like don't do too much for nothing.
Yeah.
It could be super important, and it took me a while and also good representation that I have to learn that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would, especially if you like the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. And now, from a sponsorship standpoint, when did you start seeing sponsors approach you and say, "Hey, do this," or "We got something for you"?
Super late to the game.
Yeah.
Only recently. I would say 2.5 years. Part of that is I'm extremely difficult to get a hold of. I'm sorry about that. Uh, it is by design though.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed very easily with the amount of social requirements and social demands of this job.
Yeah.
And the way I handle it is by, having a lot of filters. And if things are extremely important, I will get to them. And if they're not, then they just don't.
Yeah.
But for sponsorships, that's not great because if there's like a big opportunity and they want to get to you, then it's hard.
Yeah.
So, 2.5 years ago is whenever it started happening, and it's thanks to the Marksmen stream team.
Yeah.
That was whenever it's really Mark who encouraged me to go to Pax East and these conventions to
Yeah.
make connections, and that started the ball. But it wasn't until my agency called 28th Avenue.
Yeah.
Those guys are awesome, and they've been connecting me with all sorts of cool stuff.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And now you just
Yeah.
mentioned the Marksman. So let's talk a bit about that. How did first of all, the Marksman is a stream team with you, Markstrom, Monster D Face, Pep, Katie, Cotton. Is that it? I think that's it.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
it. Yep.
So how did that all get started?
It came together. It's almost like a streamer support group.
Yeah.
So I think it's not it's not what other stream teams were at the time, where it was like, hey, we're gonna have like hundreds of people in a single team, and there's gonna be like an auto host, and if you're online at the right time, it's gonna be like a roulette wheel of who's gonna get the auto host.
Yeah.
Or it was like too many people being in a stream team. It just kind of diluted the purpose of the stream team.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make a group that like not only did things and collaborated, but it was mainly behind the scenes stuff, almost exclusively now, like behind the scene conversations.
Yeah.
So if somebody's having like a rough time or they need a second opinion on a sponsorship opportunity or like a worth, like a value check, like
Yeah.
is this a good deal? Conventions and stuff like that. And for a very long time, we met on Sundays and every other Sundays. I will admit we haven't had a whole lot of like in-person conversations for a
Yeah.
little bit, but part of the reason is a lot of people are doing some crazy cool stuff, and it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So in a way, I owe a lot to the Marksmen because when times were difficult, especially in those early grinds, we would sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really important to have like a group of peers to confide in for
Yeah.
sure.
Excellent. And you look at you're all of the Marksmen. You guys are all very super successful now. And it's you've sort of gone beyond needing that right now, right? It's you guys are more just friends. Let's hook up and play, or do you guys still bounce ideas off each
Yeah.
other?
Yeah, for sure. Like we'll like message each other in like group chats and stuff
Yeah.
and have conversations. And I think we had it like a meeting like a month and a half ago, and we just sat down and talked about streaming.
Oh, nice.
Just off the cuff stuff, which was really nice. And I know a couple people are going to TwitchCon. I think Pep's going and
Yeah.
Katie's going and a few others. So like, hooking up for conventions and things
Yeah.
like that, which is really nice. And then I also know that they have, unfortunately, I'm not with the same agency. It just worked out that way. But they, with four of them, they're all with the same agency. So
Yeah.
it can be sold as like a collective deal.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a power team, like a power deal.
Yeah.
So, which is very helpful as well.
Okay, cool. And did you come down to PAX this past year? Or?
No, I didn't. But I usually do come down to PAX.
Yeah.
I don't know when my next PAX is going to be.
Yeah.
But whenever the next convention, I'll let you guys know. I really want to go to Amsterdam. I was supposed to go in 2020.
Oh.
I've been there before, but I want to go back.
Yeah.
And yeah, COVID. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
reason I didn't go.
When Will was on the very first pod of Tarducks, he shared some of the PAX stories. He was like your photographer and your some crazy stories running into different people
Oh yeah.
down here in Boston.
Yeah, yeah, man. It was that first PAX East was incredible. Um, Twitch was really involved.
Yeah.
So, which really made a massive difference with the energy at the convention, being a Twitch partner that's there. It just carried a certain weight and
Yeah.
a number of awesome opportunities. And I got to meet, some of my closest stream friends for the very first time
Yeah.
in person. And I had a blast and met a lot of viewers too, and spent some long nights on the streets of Boston with a number of crazy but amazing human beings
Yeah.
from the DNE. So that is something I definitely want to do again. So the human element behind the names
Yeah.
is huge.
Excellent. And now, what was it like? You coming to, was that your first experience as, celebrity? Like, there's Deadly Slob. Let's go.
Yeah, I think so. It was my first experience where like people would just randomly come up to me and be like, "Hey, like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
I think I know who you are." I'm like, "Do you?" Yeah. I will always. I think it's very important. I will always assume that nobody knows who I am. I
Yeah.
think it's very important to stay grounded, and I will always try to introduce myself to everybody. Um, and I think in my own little corner of Twitch, people know kind of like I do Tarkov and stuff. But outside of that, it's not as like people don't know who I am that much. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I can walk around a lot and it's not that big of a deal. But it was definitely
Yeah.
it was a weird, cool, humbling experience. And I really need to keep my ego in check with that because it was like, whoa, like people are coming up and I could get into these cool parties and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's neat. But yeah,
And
it was fun.
but now
It
you're on a
was fun.
small little island. I gotta think people know who you are, right? Or
Yeah. Well, I always joke locally, people just know me as Will's brother
yeah.
because it's just like Will is more of a local celebrity, I would say, than me, just because he's so active in youth sports
Yeah.
and hockey and golf and all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. So like he knows everybody and everybody knows him. So if nobody knows who I am, I'm just like I'm Will's brother,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, okay. But I have been. I remember the first time I got recognized. It was hilarious, actually. It was a funny story. I was in a Tim Hortons, which is very Canadian.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I wanted to go inside. So I was inside. I usually just go through the drive-through at our local Tim's. But I was going inside, and there's this guy there. He's probably like 17. And I went up there and I made my order, and he was like right next to me. And he just kind of gave me one of like these. And I was like, hey. He's like, and then he just kind of stared longer, and he's like, he's kind of like weirded out. He's like, hey. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, do I know you from somewhere? And I was like, I don't know. And then I pulled out the line. I was like, I'm Will's brother. He's like, I don't know who that is. And he just kind of like gave me the eye and then like went out to his car. And then I could see him like talking
Yeah.
to all of his friends in the car, and he was like pointing. I feel like that was the moment where like that was the first weird thing locally
Yeah.
that I've encountered. And then I go to a local beer festival, and then people are like, "Hey, Deli, what's up, man? I love your stream."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cool,
That's
man. That's
cool.
awesome. Enjoy the beer festival." And he's like, "Hell yeah!" So it's always really positive stuff.
Nice. That's cool,
Yeah.
man. Oh
Yeah.
shoot. So let's talk Tarkov. This
Yeah.
is this sort of white elephant in the room for us for these days. It seems. What's your take on the state of the game?
Well, I think I have a very I look at it differently. I think just simply because it's like it's always more of the same. Where we're like 2.5 months in, and then people start complaining about everything, and then there's a content patch, and then people forget, and everyone's super hyped and excited, and then it's 2 months and a half again, and people complain. So I think we're definitely going through that, and then also as the patch goes on, the interest level diminishes, especially, and the views diminish a little bit,
Yeah.
and then the stress increases, and the pessimism increases too. So I think that's got something to do with it. However, that being said, things are moving a lot slower than a lot of us want,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Streets. There is no way. I would be shocked if Streets was out this by the end of this year. I mean, we are playing the 12-13 wipe cycle right now, and that patch isn't out yet.
Yeah.
And we're almost 3 months in. So, like, I think Johnny B is coming out with a new music video like
Yep.
tomorrow, and then we have Modern Warfare coming out, and then we got a season of the cycle. So I really think we're getting a Tarkov content patch soon,
Yeah.
because anytime Tarkov's competitors release something, it seems like they follow suit. So
Mm-hmm.
I would cross my fingers on that.
Yeah.
But the state of the game, where I'm at right now, is like gameplay refinement. So I'm
Yeah.
hyper aware of things like right peaks and netcode, meta weapons and ammunition, different types of body armors, how players play.
Yeah.
And it is really starting to be like, hey, there's some big problems with PvP in Tarkov, especially when you have to go and push like marked rooms and stuff, which is very much like where you're going to see the worst bits of the content.
Yeah.
And that kind of bums me out a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be a wipe, and I'll have some cool fights, and I'm like, this is what Tarkov is all about.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the game right now. Like, you know, patient, cautiously optimistic, a little pessimistic at times
Yeah.
with certain features, but yeah,
All
I don't know.
right.
How's been your experience?
To me, I've actually started playing DayZ. I missed the window originally to. I've just felt I missed a window when everybody was playing DayZ. So I'm at a lull right now with Tarkov, and I jumped over to DayZ. I had one of the. I had Ariana, who's a DayZ streamer from the
Mhm.
UK, and she just described this beautiful game as an adventure. And it's like, you know, I jumped into it, and I'm having a blast. I just wish the Tarkov gunplay and mechanics were there, and it's just like, yeah, that's where I'm with Tarkov, right? Like, the patch came, and we didn't get a lot. We just got that addition to the Lighthouse. Offline co-op mode was cool, and that's where it is.
Yeah. DayZ, I go back every now and again, and I definitely play it for the adventure and meeting the people along the way and getting into really goofy and funny situations with people and survival stories.
Yeah,
Where it loses me time and time and time again is how the fights happen.
yeah,
For me, Tarka, especially DayZ as of late, always felt like you're constantly fumbling the ball. You're constantly fumbling over your character controller to get a kill.
yeah,
You're like the way the movement speed and how your body reacts to damage, and then also how quick your character dies, as opposed to where Daisy Standalone used to be,
yeah,
not like Tarkov. That has really changed quite substantially, and one of the reasons why I personally don't enjoy the game nearly as much.
yeah,
I've heard it's gotten a little bit better, and I'll probably check it out a bit more in a couple weeks from now,
yeah.
I would say. I'm like one item away from Kappa, so
Nice.
when that happens, it's yeah, I'll probably take a peek. But yeah, Daisy will always hold a special place in my heart. I do wish I could get back into Daisy a little bit more, because there's no other game that will make your heart race more. There's no other game that I've had to stop a firefight and walk away because my heart was racing
Really?
so hard. I was doing a 24-hour stream, and I was in a fight for like 2+ hours, and I
Oh my
finally
god!
eliminated the threat. And I was just like, I gotta walk away
Wow, that's
because it was
crazy.
insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, there's like some of the most wild situations that can unfold in that game, and you don't get that from Tarkov,
yeah,
especially in the late game.
yeah,
Tarkov is best in the early game when people are just like not dying instantly and using bad ammo, and
yeah,
they're like hobbling around and they're overweight. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Daisy's kind of like that.
It was the end of, I guess, before the last wipe. I saw you playing Daisy, and you came across some random French guy, I think it was, and you were asking chat whether that you should kill him or not, and chat was telling you to kill him, and you didn't do it. And it was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
Man, I'm a softy. I'm a big softy now. I used to be so brutal in DayZ. I would intentionally deceive people and just to get their stuff all the time. I used to have a character called Gunslinger Jim that was all based off of using my charisma to either get the upper hand or get
Hmm.
out of crazy situations. And it was awesome. But we did some dark shit on DayZ, and I can't do. I feel like I can't do that anymore. I'm more of like, hey, let's keep this like weird VoIP encounter going for as long as we can
Yeah.
and see where it leads. Unless someone's really annoying, but yeah, I have a hard time just killing people outright in DayZ these days.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Very difficult.
So that with the maps that we have now in Tarkov, with Lighthouse and Reserve came on. What is Woods still your love of Tarkov?
Yep. Yeah, I like Woods and I do like Lighthouse a lot actually.
Yeah.
Lighthouse, Shoreline, Woods are definitely like my big three. I can get frustrated with Lighthouse sometimes, but I really do enjoy that map quite a bit. The more I play it, the more I like it.
Yeah.
Because it gives me a mixture between like that outdoor mid-range environment and
Mm-hmm.
CQB action.
Yeah.
And some of the other maps, like Customs, especially lately, is very much like Dorms Rushy,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily enjoy that much. But yeah, Woods still holds a special place in my heart simply because I personally believe it doesn't have the same problems that the other maps have with the worst aspects of PvP.
Yeah.
You're not going to get as many right peak corridor holding pre-fire spray downs in CQB because people aren't necessarily prepared for that on that map.
Right.
And it's such an open map where you have trees for cover,
Yeah.
not hallways and doors. And I've always felt like the fights on that map are so much more entertaining.
Yeah.
And it also brings me back to my DayZ roots.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Now, also, before we last time we talked, VoIP wasn't out. What was your thoughts, impressions on that? Christmas patch. We got VoIP and Inertia, and the civilian fleet. I just think that was such a great patch we had back then.
oh, dude, it was awesome. I remember being so nervous for VoIP. I thought that I was very, very, very cautious about it. I was like, man, this could have the potential to change everything, but it changed nothing about Tarkov, but only added so much.
Yeah.
So like Tarkov plays the exact same it always does. It just has this whole new cool element to it. And I've met so many interesting characters and cool people. It gives you like a little taste of the DayZ experience in Tarkov, which is very nice. And I also think it's really changed the game with scavving. Like
Yeah.
being able to VoIP with like a random person, be like, "Hey man, listen, there's a PMC like over there. Let's like go and try to kill him," or something like that. Or
Yeah.
like asking people, like, "Hey man, do you have like an item that I need for a quest?" And people who are scavving are very open to it. Like occasionally you'll get backstabbed, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then Inertia, the first iteration of Inertia I thought was really good. I mean, I I've never I always played aggressive, but I never had to be aggressive in the same way that I relied on it. So I was kind of ready for the change.
Yeah.
But the most recent iteration, like doubling down on it and pushing it further, I have to say it has definitely negatively impacted my survival rate
Yeah.
for sure. But that has been a really fun challenge to try to overcome that and relearn the game a bit and play a bit tighter. So I personally like it. I
Yeah.
thought it was one of the better patches in a while.
Definitely. Yeah, I found it really, I loved VoIP. I thought it was funny, like the first month and a half, it was just like everybody was so friendly. It was like Lord of the Flies. Everybody's all, happy to be there. And then slowly started, the darkness started to creep in, It's like,
Yeah, the first couple weeks, people were super chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very helpful. People were doing like the bronze pocket watch and
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think lately I've been running into a couple friendly PMCs, but yeah, it's still not like it used to be when it was first added.
Yeah, definitely. And now, what's as you get that last Kappa item, are you going to do some sort of offline co-op stuff with the community, or just just focus on the different games?
So we do online co-op with the community right now on Fridays. So, and there's a very particular way that we do this. I don't like to do this stuff in the early period of the wipe because I don't know, maybe not everybody would be down with it, but there is a particular way where you can get a full lobby of people that are your friends on an online server, and you can authentically help them out with quest items or doing different things. And it's just by choosing like one server, and everybody queues in at the same time.
Yeah.
And that works quite well. So we've been doing that on Fridays for the last few weeks. Like 1 week we're on Interchange, we had 17 people on a live game.
Oh my god!
And we all took out the scav PMC extraction, which was crazy. And I did this a few years ago, and it was super leggy. I did it recently, not leggy at all.
Oh wow!
Like, not at all, which is very cool. So it really goes to show how the infrastructure's improved.
Yeah.
It isn't laggy at all. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we recently just did one on Reserve, and we got a huge lobby of people, and we got a bunch of raiders, and the train was there, and airdrops and stuff.
Yeah.
So I will continue to do this stuff like that. Scav
cool.
armies. We can get like teams of like 8 or 9 scavs on a single server.
Yeah. Nice.
And those are really fun.
Okay.
So in terms of like offline co-op, I'll probably do a couple things, but I think the online stuff is really interesting.
Yeah.
And adds like a layer of value to the whole experience
True.
for players.
Yeah.
So
Cool. All right, and then one other Tarkov question is your beard oil. How did you find out? How did you find out that you were, getting an item in the game?
Yeah, it was Klean actually. Klean was, I would say, he has a big role in the streamer items being added to the game. And I remember he asked me like, "Hey, like, what would your streamer item be?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, whatever the devs would be willing to add, like, I am easy. It could be as simple as like a poster or something, or like I'll just whatever." And he's like, "What about a beard oil?" And I was like, "That's great." So, few months later with the interchange patch, when interchange was added to the game, my beard oil was added.
Oh,
and
nice.
that was crazy. I remember when PUBG added streamer sprays on the walls, I was super jealous. So I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. Like to have like my own item in Tarkov is like crazy.
That is kind of cool, man.
And we were able to make like actual real beard oils that are functional and maple scented.
Oh, wow.
So completely usable, but you're gonna smell like a Waffle House. Like it's pretty crazy. And we sent like 6 of them to the devs.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
So like they have like the real usable beard oil in their office, which is really cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that brings me to the next question. BSG and Nikita. I think we're super lucky to have them being so open and just responsive to the community.
Yeah, Nikita's done a crazy job over the years. He's got more patience than me, for sure. He takes a lot of shit. I think if you're a game developer in 2022, you have to be prepared for some crazy shit. I think some of that comes from gamer entitlement for sure. Some of it comes from being mistreated by game developers over the years and people being super pessimistic. And then also it also stems from people, buying into an early access game under a promise or an idea of a game becoming something, and when in reality it turns into something different that they didn't necessarily sign up for, and then they take it out on their lead dev. So I think we are extremely lucky because I think the level of detail that goes into Tarkov is insane.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of time. I'm really curious to see where the future of Battlestate games is going to be, especially with Russia 2028.
Yeah.
And then also how they're going to move forward with live service. Like I do think Tarkov's not going away. I think Tarkov will always be an arena. They're multiplayer focus.
Yeah.
Whereas like they're going to push the universe and tell the story of Russia 2028, which is essentially World War III, through their single player features. So, and they'll coexist, like, right? Like kind of how like Squadron 42 and Star Citizen are going to coexist. I think that's kind of where the future is. But I think the most disappointing part of how BSG gets treated is they didn't expect the level of like cheating and that kind of stuff, which has really slowed everything down, and people that are actively trying to destroy their business. So which is super disappointing. So and like that takes a lot of effort, and that takes a lot of time and resources away from developing the game.
Absolutely.
And I think that's kind of unfortunate, but that's just the world we live in right now.
Absolutely. So now, how would you describe your community, the Deadly Slob community?
How would I describe our community? We are a incredibly funny, strange, and peculiar group of people from all sorts of different backgrounds, and I mean all sorts of different backgrounds, with a very, very interesting lexicon of memes and how we communicate with each other that can be really strange from an outsider coming in. And it's a lot of fun. I think the I think the main thing is it's also a big group of people that are actively at work that are
Yeah.
bored. So, which is funny. Like, so you'll have like people just come in and talk about their day or
Yeah.
like their what they had for breakfast, and like it's a really fun time to stream
Yeah.
because it's like an active part of the day and people are doing all sorts of different stuff. So, I am just one of the lucky ones that we have such a positive and friendly and open
Yeah.
community, and we really keep the toxicity at bay. And the biggest way we do that is with really good moderators that we moderate people that are like community leaders,
Yeah.
like somebody that doesn't ask for it, but they really shine and represent the values of our community. And we
Yeah.
put them in that position to make the decision if somebody is good or bad.
Yeah.
And that's worked out really well.
Excellent. Yeah, I have to say that you, Pep, and Markstrom are very much alike, and you all love the love that you guys describe your communities is just so cool.
Oh yeah, it's everything. I mean, for me, it's the whole stream is a tennis match. If I don't have this viewers, then the stream is ruined,
Yeah.
really. Like it's the whole comedy and the entertainment aspect of the stream is so heavily reliant on the stupid shit that I say and then the stupid shit that they say, and kind of us meeting in the middle with it,
Yeah.
and just being goofy and just being fun.
Yeah.
Like like I don't really have a persona per se, but I definitely like to goof it up a bit more or really let the Atlantic Canadian side shine a bit harder
Yeah.
during the stream. And it's awesome. So yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones, man. I'm for sure.
Yeah. Excellent. So now when sign off for, in the afternoon, what happens then?
So I turn the stream off and I get up and I leave this office. I'm completely like detached from
Nice.
my regular home pretty much. So I got that like work and home kind of separation.
Yeah.
And then I like to cook.
Nice.
So I immediately start cooking whatever we got. We've been with HelloFresh for a long time. Not sponsored,
Yeah.
just we works well for our rural lives, and or I think of a meal that we want to prep and then we go with it. And so I usually cook, and by the time it's done, my wife is home from work, and that's kind of what we do. And walk the dog,
Yeah.
cut the grass, hit a workout. I got a bit of a home gym, so I've been getting after that pretty hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just regular adult life stuff. I feel like I live a very normal, regular adult life. I
Nice.
think people would be almost a little let down with how average it is. Like very much like when you guys come home from work, I'm doing the same stuff. I'm
Yeah.
checking the news. I'm maybe watching a little TV. My in-laws might stop in, like whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm doing, and that's the way I like it. So
Is Will helping you with your golf game, or has that golf game been shelved for now?
oh man, I was able to get out golfing like 5 or 6 times this year, but
Oh
my
wow.
golf game has gone all to hell. So it's gone.
Yeah.
Last year I was doing very well. I was starting to creep into the lower 90s, maybe even kissing the 80s.
Oh wow.
And this year I think the lowest I've shot was like 99,
Yeah.
and the highest I've shot was like 120. So
It's one of those games
yeah.
though. You just you're if you don't stay with it, it's gonna drop.
Oh yeah, and like what's worse is I've been playing horrible golf since like I was 9.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm not played it and bad. I've played a lot of it and bad. So I've established those bad habits. So
Yeah.
to get the muscle memory to change your swing and do it properly is
Yeah.
very difficult to do. So and I feel like Will's patience only goes so far. So
Yeah.
I don't want to pester him because he's a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
That's one of the best on the island. So we go out, we have fun, and
Nice.
he plays his game, and he helps me find my golf balls in the woods. So
That's a good brother.
yeah,
So-
good brother.
What's on the TV for at night when you guys sit down to watch something?
House of the Dragon,
Yeah.
big time. So we've been really into that. We're huge Game of Thrones fans. Obviously gutted with how season 8 ended for a lot of people. But we're back in. We're back on the George R. R. Martin train.
Yeah.
Which I think he's an incredible world builder. It's a talent that I wish that I had. And Elden Ring, he helped out on Elden
Right.
Ring too. So, which was an amazing experience. So we've been super into that. Formula One, of course.
Yeah.
We just finished a series called Blackbird, which is about a serial killer named Larry Hall. It's a mini series.
Okay.
It's very well done. And then basketball's starting soon.
Yes.
So Raptors basketball. So we're gonna dive super deep into that. Watch your boy Scotty Barnes.
Yeah.
Pretty much and Freddie, the leaders of the team, and see what happens with that.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing that championship run they had there a couple of years ago. That bouncing
oh
shot that just bounced and bounced and bounced. That was incredible.
oh it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of the I'm not a huge sports guy, but that moment, the shot is what
yeah.
we call it in Canada. Like the shot. I think it's the shot that could be heard around like the world.
Yeah.
Oh my God, incredible.
Yeah. And then taking
so
down Golden State after that. I never thought they'd do that. That was amazing.
yeah. I'm sad that Kawhi Leonard didn't stick with the team after.
Mm-hmm.
I still think we had a championship team that was just missing Kawhi. I think Kawhi isn't a leader.
Yep.
And I think Kyle Lowry is that leader. So you have an extremely skilled basketball player that can work really well with somebody who can lead a team.
Yeah.
And if you let Kawhi do his thing, he's like a solo team.
Right.
He's like that solo Tarkov player that can just wipe the entire map.
Yeah.
He's amazing with that. So and we lost that from the Raptors when he left.
Yeah.
And also, Serge Ibaka as well. And it was sad to see it break apart so soon.
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely. But years ago there was that potential for a championship team with Vince, Tracy, Charles Oakley. We had a good core, and then McGrady had to go and leave.
And then also DeRozan too.
Yeah.
DeRozan had some great years, but
Yeah.
let's just LeBron James would shut us down
Yeah.
every time. So
Yeah.
DeRozan is like also one of my favorite people in sports.
Yeah.
So I'm always like low key like rooting for wherever he is because
Yeah.
I think he's somebody who speaks out about mental illness, and then also I think he's just a good role model. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I still say when somebody like I said that they DeRozan Daniel Ricciardo from
Yeah.
McLaren because they pretty much did. I mean, he did the
Yes.
social media post, and they already knew he was gone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
But
Oh, well.
speaking of people who do good, you do really well with charities. The pancreatic cancer charity, and now there's a new charity, another cancer charity that you're supporting.
We support Panc 1, which
Yeah.
is pancreatic cancer, and I did that twice. And in my personal life, I support things like Red Cross and what's been going on in the Ukraine and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which I don't talk too much about, but I'm very passionate about that stuff. So, yeah, it's I don't do too much charity work, so whenever I do it, I want it to really matter and have
Yeah.
like a really big impact. And the DNE brings it, man. Our community just killed it. We just raised like $20,000 for pancreatic cancer research,
Yeah.
which is one of the most deadly forms of cancer, one of the most underfunded and under-researched, and the death rate has largely gone unchanged over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
And I know, like me personally, like my grandmother passed away from cancer very young, so it kind of robbed me from that opportunity. And cancer has affected my wife's family
Yeah.
quite severely too. And I know a lot of people either have been affected by it directly or know somebody that has. So it's one of those things that really needs more funding. And
Yeah.
things like lung cancer, for example, over the last 30, 40 years, the survivability rate has greatly been increased based off of funding and charity research. So
Yeah.
I think the same could be done for things like pancreatic cancer. So Panc 1 they also provide like quality of life because right now the research isn't there for people that are already having it. So it provides like tailorized drugs and also experimental drugs that can help increase the quality of life or survivability,
Yeah.
but then also provide personal care for people who have it. So
Very cool.
we'll most likely work with them again in the future.
Yeah. Well,
So
for coming on today, I'm going to make a donation to Panc 1 for thank you
Thank
for
you very
taking the
much.
time. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
really generous for you to come on and take your evening to hang out.
Oh yeah, well, thank you, man. Anytime. I'm sure to make this a regular thing every couple months. Just hit me up and
Yeah.
we can talk more about how things are going.
Excellent. And now, before you go though, now you have to call out somebody who should come on Tarducks. You can't call out Will. He's been on.
Yeah. Let's see here. Who should come on Tarducks? Have you ever had Bazinga that be on?
I've had Bazinga.
Oh, you have Baz.
She's been awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. Have you had Jesse?
No,
Kazan,
I have not had Jesse
Kazan.
yet. No.
Jesse's good.
Yes.
He runs his own podcast too with
Veritas. Yep.
Yeah, Jesse's
All right.
a hilarious guy. Yeah, I'd like to see him on here. So,
all right, there we go.
Sweet.
Excellent. Well, Deadly, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for having me on, and I hope anybody out there that's listening, I wish, especially those that are on the streaming grind, I wish you the best of luck, and take it easy, just day to day, focus on the little things, and have fun. That's the most important thing, because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it, right? Yep. So that's the whole point at the end of the day. So.